I'm Jane Darke, and what I do is I'm a painter, I'm a filmmaker, but I'm also the beach warden for this beach at Port Coffin. And I've been cleaning this beach now for 9 years, picking up all the rubbish as it comes in between May and September. So I've got a pretty good idea of what there is out there and where it comes from. In my film The Wrecking Season, we tracked, we collected stuff from North America that came over, a lot of tags, fishing gear, and seeds from South America, and a lot of debris from different fishing boats. Some of this stuff is behind me here. When I get onto a beach and I see a strand line covered with rubbish, I get quite excited because I don't know what there's going to be. I mean, on the one hand, it's great to go on a beach and see nothing there at all. That is fantastic. But for me, it's a treasure trove because there might be seeds from the Caribbean, there might be something rare, there might be some interesting bit of packaging that I've never found before. Or, I mean, like last winter I found a measure from Florida for how to gauge the minimum size for stone crabs, which a fisherman must have dropped thousands of miles away, which has come over to me. So I find that's quite exciting. It's a link with the other side of the Atlantic Ocean. This is a summer strand line, not a winter one, so there's not actually that much stuff here, but this is pretty well representative of the sort of stuff that you'll find. This is twine from nets, from fishing nets, that's either been tossed overboard when they're fixing the net, or it's old net that's broken down. That's a little bit of a plastic drinking water bottle, which breaks down all the time into smaller and smaller bits. There's another bit there. Here we have a bottle top, another bit of net. That is a bit from a broom. These are the bristles from a brush. A bit of, I'm sure that's a bit of rubber. That looks like, maybe it's that stuff they use for roads, you know, it's where you get that sort of orange stuff that they use. That's a bit of, they use that for fixing hooks to lobster pots. Here is a top from a drinking water bottle. There's a nurdle. One nurdle. Two nurdles. That's raw plastic before it's been processed and turned into something else. That's how it's transported. And you'll find that on every beach in the world, everywhere. This is just a little bit further along. Cotton bud stick. So every time you flush your cotton bud down the toilet, that is what washes up on a beach. Fag end, thousands of fag ends, and they stick around for years and years. Oh, there's a bit of drinking straw. That's just an old bit of plastic container. Here, further along here, we've got a nice little cluster of bottle tops. Stopper, another plastic water bottle top. Fag butt. That's a bit from around the edge of a lobster pot again, and that too. Put this sort of plastic which coats the metal, and it all kind of drops off. Another bottle top. Another cotton bud stick, a bit more plastic from around a lobster pot. Cotton bud stick. Oh, that's some of that, you know, ring can stuff that holds plastic that holds cans together at the top. All breaks up into little pieces. About 12 years ago, the council started raking the beach here, and it was quite an arbitrary thing to do, really. It was just to keep, supposedly to keep the beach clean for tourists, but what it did was to bury the debris and break up the dogs' crap and the glass, so that you couldn't see where it was, and it removed all of the seaweed from the beach. Now, seaweed's a really important thing for feeding the dune system. It's the natural glue that binds the beach together, stops all the sand blowing away, and provides the nutrient for the marram grass to grow and for dune building. And dunes are the most significant sea defence on soft sediment beaches, which is sandy beaches. And the strand line itself is part of that dune building process. So everything that comes in on that strand line, pieces of wood and plastic, is a possible dune building material. So although plastic is unsightly, there is an argument for leaving some of it in the winter to contribute to that dune building process. And I know in the Gower in South Wales there is a policy of leaving it because it is so important that the dunes grow, particularly with the fear that we have now about sea level rise. If you take the plastic off the beach, where are you going to put it? That's the point. That it'll have to go into landfill somewhere. But I think that the most plastic that comes in, that I see, comes from fishing boats and from ships at sea, but mainly I would say fishing boats. Huge quantities of twine from nets that are either being repaired, so they toss the twine overboard, or nets that are breaking up at sea. And that comes in constantly all year round. And just ordinary everyday rubbish from boats, milk cartons, blow up dolls, milk cartons, and all sorts of different packaging. And I think, and my husband Nick thought, that it really made sense to pay fishermen to bring all their rubbish into the harbour. That it would be a way of subsidising the fishermen. They get no other subsidy, but to encourage them to bring it in, to pay them to do that, would be a really good idea. There's a lot of different kinds of material that wash in, like this wood behind me, which is really useful, obviously. And as my job as a warden, I pick up a lot of stuff that's just left by tourists. But I have to say that there's been a lot less left since they realised that there was a person picking it up. I think that education is a big part of stopping people from just leaving stuff all over the place. So if they know that there's someone around or some sort of policy for keeping it clean, then they're more responsible. And I think it's made a big difference in North Cornwall, the beach ranger scheme. And I notice on beaches further south where they don't have it, where the beaches are a lot dirtier through the summer. I think the important thing is to get plastic out of the system, really. So packaging, which is unnecessary, that's a big thing. Just to reduce the amount of plastic in the environment, we have to reduce the amount of plastic that we use, obviously. And we are responsible for that. So we need to make sure as individuals that we don't buy products that use plastic unnecessarily. So that's a major way of keeping it out of the environment. The debris that comes in comes from all sorts of different sources. So, for example, water bottles. I mean, there is a really unnecessary use of plastic. You could reuse water bottles. They break up and float below the surface. And when we get a lot of weed come in, the weed is full of broken up bits of plastic bottle, which I pick up and bag and is taken to landfill. What, you know, yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, I think the important thing is educating people about rubbish, really, about what it is, what's wasteful, what's unnecessary, and where it goes to. So, you know, I mean, everybody knows it goes in landfill. The problem is that all the landfill sites are filling up now, so recycling should be compulsory, I think, really. And because if you recycle, then you get a really good idea of what your rubbish is. If you just shove it in a bin and forget about it, then you don't have that sense of responsibility, and you don't think about, you know, the amount of stuff that you have to pack up every week, or whatever the policy is of your council, just to get rid of it. You know, it becomes a chore for you, so you try and reduce it. I think that that there is a problem with people coming to the beach, and they sort of separate what they see on the beach from their own rubbish. But in fact, a lot of rubbish just makes its way into the sea from the land. So I live just up the coast from Newquay, and most of the rubbish that comes in on the beaches around here comes from the streets of Newquay. In a gale, it just blows straight into the sea, and that's quite a major contributor.